Hey, I'm Rob Dionne. I'm a health and wellness expert outside of Los Angeles, California. And today on the show, we're going to be talking about how to shed all the things in your life that are preventing you from being healthy and how not to add to just bombard you with more stuff to do. Stay tuned.
Congratulations! You are tuned into Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Show, the #1 podcast for Fortune 500 executives and those who are dedicated to creating a quantum leap in leadership. Your host, Dov Baron, is the founder of FullMontyLeadership.com. He's an executive mentor to leaders like you, a contributing writer for Entrepreneur Magazine, CEO World, and he's been featured on CNN, Fox, CBS, and many other notable sites. Dov Baron is an international business speaker who was named by Inc. magazine as one of the top 100 leadership speakers to hire. Now, over to Dov Baron.
Welcome, dear friends, fans, and fellow aficionados of leadership excellence. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Tips for Executives, part of the Full Monty interview series. I'm your host, Dov Baron. I'm the founder of Full Monty Leadership, and I'm here to assist you tapping into your deep greatness so you can reach that next level of clarity, focus, purpose, and profit in your business, your life, and your leadership impact. Today, we're going to be taking an insider look at how leadership and entrepreneurship can steal your health and what you can do about it. Remember, you can now chat about this episode or any of our past episodes on our Facebook page. Go to Dov Baron Leadership and Loyalty Podcast on Facebook. There you can chat with our guests and with other listeners and viewers. If you're a new listener, new viewer, strap yourself in. We're about to go full Monty. Remember, you can find us on iTunes, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, or wherever you tune into podcasts. And we always need your help in staying relevant, so please get yourself over to iTunes, rate, review, and subscribe to the show. As you will see, many of our guests have done exactly that. When you do, also, you can go back to that Facebook page and let us know, and we'll maybe give you a shout out on live show. You can catch us also on traditional radio stations across the United States every Monday and Thursday, all the way from Philadelphia to Colorado. Also, you can look for us on Roku TV, where we have over 100,000 subscribers. And if you're a regular listener, big thank you to you for making us the #1 podcast globally for Fortune 500 listeners. With a potential reach of 2.5 to 4 million listeners for every show, we're honored and grateful to be cited by Inc.com as the #1 podcast to make you a better leader. And by the way, you can listen to us on Google Home and Alexa by simply saying, play Dov Baron podcast. Again, thank you for sharing the show with everybody you know. All right, let's strip it down, dive right in. As a leader, whether you're a CEO, someone in the C-suite, sales leader, entrepreneur, or leader in any capacity, you know that the demands of being a leader can sometimes be completely overwhelming. So many things that are important end up getting shoved onto the back burner, including your health. You know, it goes, you're away, you're in client meetings, you're at conferences, lunches, functions, and before you know it, that six-pack, well, it's turned into a beer barrel. At that point, you might be thinking that getting back in shape might be bordering on the impossible. It's certainly a long haul. But what if there's a way to drop the weight and stay healthy fast? Well, stay tuned, because our guest today is Rob Dionne. Rob is an expert at helping leaders and entrepreneurs prioritize their health within their hectic schedules. Rob is also the host of Open Sky Fitness podcast. But what's really relevant to you is he is the creator of an 8-week weight loss and body weight workout program called the Sky Fit Challenge, which has helped his challengers to lose anywhere between 8 and 30 pounds in just 8 weeks. More importantly, keep that weight off. As a busy entrepreneur, husband, and dad, juggling a full roster of clients, Rob has become an expert at prioritizing what's most important in order to keep making progress in all areas of his life. He specializes in helping busy people like you get out from behind their desks and carve out the time for a better quality of life for themselves and their families, and why the traditional approach to weight loss is a complete waste of the time. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and help me welcome, always trainer to the stars, Mr. Rob
Dov, thanks so much, buddy. I really appreciate you having me on the show. Thanks for the great intro. That's much appreciated. I'm super excited to chat with you today. This is going to be awesome.
Good, mate. Well, it's good to have you here. I'm really grateful to have you here. Thank you for joining us. You know, as I was saying, the whole thing with with being a busy leader is it's very easy for health and fitness and those kinds of things to sort of drift into the, I mean, you know, it's like, well, it's just today. I got a meeting today. I'll go tomorrow. And then, oh, geez, you know, my assistant or my virtual assistant, my secretary, whoever it is, has now filled my schedule and another day has gone by. And, you know, I'm traveling and I'm in a different time zone. When somebody comes to you, a leader or an entrepreneur, somebody who's highly successful like that, and they come at you with that because it's very real. It's not an excuse. What's the first thing you say to them to help them go to grasp that it is possible?
Well, you first have to understand the mindset of somebody that's a real high achiever like that.
Yeah.
Somebody that can take on that much work, take on that much pressure, not only internally but externally, is the type of person that that understands that there's value in outsourcing. Right. We can't all be experts at everything. And to give somebody the pass, especially somebody that's at that level, some executive, higher executive, to give them the pass, to let them know that this is something that I will take off your plate and that I will outsource, where it's only existed in your schedule. Because if you are a high achiever like that, or you're running a company, your schedule is everything. You're literally jam-packed from potentially 5 a.m. until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and then rinse and repeat for the next day. So unless it exists in your schedule, it's not going to happen. So what I instill in my clients is let's create the urgency and let's make this a priority. It doesn't have to exist within your mind, because a lot of people think that they have to be like, I have to be really, have to think about eating healthy all the time. I have to think about working out all the time. And the reality of it is it doesn't have to be that way. You just have to outsource that moment, that hour out of your day to someone else, so they are accountable for you. So this way you don't have to worry about that. And that's what I do with my clients. I have clients that are, running major motion picture companies, literally. If you were to name the top 5, one of them or a couple of them are my clients, and
right.
they don't, they work out at 5:30 in the morning. Their day is jam packed. They drop the kids off at school. They run the entire day, get home at like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And then it's rinse and repeat. So how do you,
so the first thing is actually recognizing that, I think everybody recognizes that it should, quote unquote, be a priority. But what you're saying is, and we all know this as leaders, that for it to be a priority, it has to go in the schedule. And I think you're right. I think that oftentimes we think it's something we can kind of fit in. But I know for myself, if I work out first thing in the morning, early in the morning, and people go, "Oh my God, how do you do that? You work so long and so late, and you're juggling these different businesses. How do you possibly do that?" And I go, "It's really easy." And they go, "How?" Here's what's easy about it. If I didn't do it in the morning, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
It's that simple. I know that. So it's in my schedule. It says, if you look at my calendar, it says gym time, and it says do not book. Because I have 3 assistants who would all love to fill that time, because somebody in Australia or somebody in Hong Kong or somebody in the UK is saying, "Can we get that time?" Because for them it's a decent time, and it's like, no. So I think that you made a very good point in that we have to decide that it's something that goes in the schedule, not something that we fit in. Is that right?
Yes. And there's another piece of this that's missing that I think is very, very important. And that's the understanding of who you are. You have to understand what your weaknesses are. You are a morning person. You are the kind of guy who can wake up in the morning, boom, you're charged. I've seen your videos first thing in the morning. I've seen your posts first thing in the morning. You are amped. You're that guy. You're the morning person. One of my clients is the morning person, but then there are other people who are not. And you have to understand that is your weakness. So if your weakness is zero motivation, if your weakness is not being a morning person, you have to know that about yourself in order to sidestep that. Because if you don't, then you're trying to basically change who you are. And that's an uphill battle that you'll never win. So
that's a great point, because I think that, like you said, I'm a morning person, and my natural instinct is to say somebody will just get up early and go to the gym. But as you said, if they're a drag your ass kind of person, but for them, they may have the energy to, and I do know, I have friends like this who actually work out at 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, Oh my God, I would not be able to sleep. I couldn't function. I'd be terrible the next day. But that's, as you said, that's recognizing who you are when it comes to your health and your fitness. Because I think that, when you look at the business world, it's very prescribed. You've got your lunch meetings, you've got your dinner meetings, you've got your schedule, and it's all clunked out. But there's not much consideration for, well, how does my circadian rhythm work? How does my biorhythms work? What is my system? When is my energy high? When is my energy low? Am I the kind of person who's very hungry first thing in the morning, or am I the kind of person who's not hungry at all in the morning? So I think, you bring up a really great point that I think most leaders would totally not even consider, which is check with yourself, when are you at your best energy-wise, and then schedule it from there. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, look, there are so many aspects of running a company, right? There's, as the leader, there's, you have to be able to delegate. Now, whether or not you're talking about running an online company where you're having building funnels, email campaigns, you're running maybe some social media groups, you have revenue streams coming in from multiple sources. You can't be an expert at everything. Even though you wish you were and you hope you would be, you can't be. And so the true entrepreneur or the true leader is the best delegator, right? There's if you ever, I'm sure you've read or at least heard of now I'm going to forget the book. It's the story within this book, and I'll think of it in about 2 seconds, is about Henry Ford. And Henry Ford was being brought up against all of his shareholders. And they're saying, look, man, you're not fit to run a car company. You don't know anything about cars. You don't know anything about all of this other stuff. And his defense was, look, I don't have to know this stuff. The only stuff I have to know is who knows this stuff. Who can I ask the question to and get the answer from in order to keep moving forward? And that's what a true leader does. A true leader knows who to surround themselves with. This way they can keep pushing forward without the hiccups.
Absolutely.
If we try to do everything in our company, and I have this theory on fitness and business and how they run parallel. And I want to tell you about it because it's really interesting. But if you try to do, everything in your life, the way you run your business, and you try to run your health the same, like in a different way. Like if you don't know anything about health and you're trying to become healthy, you're just going to take forever to become healthy. Same thing. If you want to run a business, but you don't know anything about email marketing, you don't know anything about, building funnels, you have to outsource that, or you can learn how to do it. And that's going to take you a lot of time. So
that's absolutely, this is one of the things that I've explained to people before. Find the person who is brilliant at the thing you want to do. And if you want to learn from them, that's fine. You can learn from them and take it over yourself if that's what you want to do. Yeah. But, for me, you and I have talked about this a lot. Fitness has been part of my life for more than 40 years. I've been a fitness freak. I've been, the gym, box, martial arts, as well as weightlifting and all the squash and all those other things that I've done in my life. But there's an evolution to that. And the way that I train today is very different than the way I trained before. And I'm constantly in a learning mode with that. And with anything in leadership, as you just said, if you want to be good at it, you find somebody who's better at it than you are, much better at it than you are. You either outsource it to them directly because you don't need to do it, or you learn how to do it. And oftentimes we are too damn busy as leaders to learn how to do it. And having a great trainer, having a great fitness, listen, like I said, I've been training for 40 years. I have a training partner who's actually been on your show, and we train together. And I'm a pretty focused guy, and I'm a pretty motivated guy, and all those kinds of things. But I know the day that I train with my training partner, who, by the way, is a trainer who I train. So when we train together, he always says, "Listen, I have to do this all day. I'm following you," and I train him. And that's what because he understands it, and he's been professionally doing it for decades, that we all need somebody else. And I think that that's part of the problem with leaders who are alpha. We don't want to admit, I need somebody else. Well, listen, mate, that lump of blubber around your waist is not helping you. It's hard on your heart. It's hard on your lungs. It's hard on your brain. And having somebody who can help you take over that part of it. I mean, just think about it. You just get to put down the need to control everything so you can hand it over to Rob or to Martin or to Fred or to Susan or to Betty or whoever it is and say, guide me. It's actually very, so you can have a great workout, you can feel sweaty, you can feel like you've had the results, but you actually let go of some of the stress. And that's another thing that I want to just talk about for a moment. Talk to us about the impact of working out health-wise for a leader, high-level A-type personality in the context of stress and why it's important.
Well, we build up these stress banks in our body and our mind, right? And there's really only certain ways in which we can unload this. And we can either do it through meditation, we can do it through doing things that we really enjoy, like certain hobbies, and working out. Working out is one of the best ways to relieve the stress that we have built up in our minds and in our bodies. Now, for some people, this might not be this. Now, Dov, this might be speaking truth to you and I, but for some people, working out and physically exerting themselves might bring on more stress. Technically, a workout is a stressor, right? And it's a stressor in which our body has to adapt, because the reason we work out is because we want to see change. With adaptation comes change, right? Stress leads to adaptation. Adaptation triggers change. And that's why we do it. But for some people, that stress is an addition to what they are doing. So if you work out with a trainer and it's not necessarily bringing you joy, it's not necessarily relieving your stress, you might want to try something else. And that might be martial arts. That might be going for a hike with your friends, every morning. That could be literally the release for you. But unless you release that stress, it's going to build up in you until you have a breaking point. It's interesting because, I was reading this book, The Four Tendencies. Have you heard about this book from Gretchen Rubin?
Yes.
So it's interesting because there are people who can take this kind of stress, and myself, if I'm defining myself within this book, I'm defined as an obliger, somebody who takes on accountability from outside, but doesn't take on internal accountability. So it's much easier for me to be accountable to you, Dov. If you said, Rob, I need you to do this, I would do it because that's my personality. But if I said, I'm going to do this, and I set the goal for myself and I don't tell anybody about it, it probably won't happen. So we have to, if you know that stress is built up in your life and you know that you can't get rid of it on your own because you are not the executor of your goals, you need to, again, outsource that and relieve it in some way. It might not be hiring a personal trainer. It might literally be hanging out with friends. It might be going out with friends and doing something active, on a weekly, could be daily basis. Monthly basis is probably not often enough, but it really is about taking care of yourself and thinking outside of, this is what it goes back to, and why it's so important to understand your weaknesses as a person, because if you can categorize yourself and fit yourself into a framework and understand your weaknesses, you can sidestep them to the point where you are navigating much freer through life, right? We've heard that the more structure we have, the freer we are, right? By the way, the book is called Think and Grow Rich. It popped into my head that I was trying to think of before.
Napoleon Hill.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So the more structure we have, the freer we are. But if you are bogged down with the thought of I'm not able to do this, I can't do this, I should be able to do this, it's gonna derail you from being able to accomplish more in your life. And I think that for most people, we want to accomplish stuff. We're constantly hoping and dreaming to succeed, but the reality of it is that we're relying on our own personal self motivation to do everything, when that's in reality just not the case for most people. Does that make sense? Absolutely.
You and I have discussed health and fitness, and just in transparency to everybody else, that Rob and I are also friends, and we know each other outside of this show. And I'm going to be on his show. He's on my show. We've both got things to offer to either of our audiences. But as Rob knows, and as you probably know as a listener and a viewer, is that, I'm healthy and I've looked after myself and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
So we've had these health discussions. What's one of the most common myths that people have about health and fitness, Rob? If you sort of were to say, you wanted to go, hey, wake up, that's a myth, right? What the people are still carrying around, particularly in the, who are these A-type personalities, what would it be?
Well, an easy one. I mean, there's, first of all, the myth that everybody fits into the same category around fitness is completely false. Like there is no steadfast rule for anyone. Same for nutrition, same for fitness. It doesn't matter. It's like it really, everything is individual. Every person is unique. So if I was to train you, Dov, and help you become healthy, you are going to respond different to different cues. You're going to respond to different workouts much more, just differently than anybody else, right? There might be similarities,
exactly.
but generally everybody's different. So let's eliminate that for one. But there are certain things like, most people want to lose weight. Let's be honest. The average person wants to lose weight. They want to drop. And when I say lose weight, being more specific, they want to lose body fat.
Right.
That's across the board. Doesn't matter who you are. I think most people just would rather not have any body fat if they had the chance. The reality of it is, no, seriously.
You would not be a well person if you had no body fat.
Yeah. Well, they would. Most people.
It's called dead. It's not called fit. It's called dead.
Yeah. It's called skin and bones. Most people would like to be somewhere between 7 and 10% body fat on average, because that's what every fitness model looks like. Most people.
And here's the news: if you're a CEO, you're not a fitness model.
That's right. So don't pretend to be, and don't make it one of your unrealistic goals that just leaves you feeling upset and kind of let down,
pissed off at yourself and giving yourself shit because because you're at 20%.
Yeah.
And maybe your lifestyle will never fit 7%.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a discipline.
Yeah, setting these unrealistic goals is definitely a problem. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media and Instagram and all of these different, Pinterest posts that people are putting out there of how they've gotten 6 packs in 6 weeks, or it's ridiculous. There's just no, if that's not your body type and that's not your lifestyle, then there's no reason to aim for that. But people just want it in this world because they think that that's what's going to make them happy. And it's funny because I was working out this morning in my garage, and I wrote down on my whiteboard in there, which is, usually for clients workouts and stuff like that. But I wrote, people are searching for happiness. That's what people are searching for, whether it's in anything that they're trying to accomplish, whether it's success, it's money, it's relationships, it's love, it's health. They're looking for happiness. They're looking for a sense of self-worth in their day to day. And so if you think happiness is on the other side of a 6-pack, you are going to, trust me, you're the same person. You're going to be the same person on the other side of that. So, it's really a matter of like redetermining your goals. But going back to your question, just your myth question, I think the easiest one to pick out that's been around probably since the 60s, 70s, and 80s that still holds fast is clients come into me and they say, I got to lose weight. So I know I got to be doing cardio every day. I got to do an hour of cardio every day. And the reality of it is that that's just not the case. Because like I said, the goal is to lose body fat, right?
Right.
If you're doing excess amount of cardio every single day when I say that, I mean like anywhere from 45 minutes to 90 minutes of cardio every single day, generally what you're going to be doing is burning off muscle mass. And the other side of doing cardio is when you do cardio specifically like LISS, which is low intensity steady state cardio, you're only burning calories while you're doing that cardio, right? So that just sucks, man, because that means that you have to be on the treadmill in order to burn those calories. So what if there was a way to burn those calories more consistently throughout the day, but actually work out less, right? So, and there is, I think
that would be quite appealing to most leaders.
Right? Yeah. Because what we want to do is we want to maximize the time that we're spending in the gym, and we want to, for the most amount of results. I think we want that in everything in life, right? We want the least.
I was going to say that would be a general overview of life. Can I do the minimum and get the maximum, please?
Yeah. And there is a type of working out that does provide that. And so rather than LISS, LISS, low intensity steady state, you transition to doing things that are more HIIT, high intensity interval training. And so that could literally be on a treadmill. It could be doing body weight workouts. It can be lifting. You can do this in any form, whatever that you already enjoy. You don't have to change your workout modalities, what you're doing. You just have to change the way in which you're doing it. So let's say you are a guy that normally shows up at the gym, and he shows up at the gym, he brings his magazine, and you walk, or you're listening to some podcast for an hour, and you just take a walk or a jog for an hour, same tempo every single day. And, you know, good luck. Maybe the first few months of that actually yielded you some results because your body was adapting to something that you'd never done before. But after that, your body's adapted. It understands what you're doing. It knows you, and you're doing that same thing over and over. It's not going to yield you any new changes. However, if you cut that hour workout down to 20 minutes and you do an hour, you do a 1 minute sprint or a 30-second sprint, whatever you're capable of doing, and then you bring it down to a 3-minute jog or a walk or whatever you need to recover from that sprint, and you repeat that for 20 minutes, you're going to trigger adaptation in your body. Now, will you adapt to that kind of training? Sure. If you're doing it every day for 3 months, yes, you're going to adapt. But the great thing about high intensity training is that all you need to do is then change variables. You can either up the amount of time you're sprinting, you lessen the amount of time that you have for rest. Maybe you throw in some burpees between your sprints. You know, you can do all kinds of different variables. But the great thing is the workout doesn't have to last more than 20 minutes. And if you include maybe a 10, 15-minute warm up, 10, 15-minute cool down, then you're looking at 45 minutes in the gym. So it's not like it's not crazy that you took all the time to drive to the gym and then drive home. If you're like, well, why am I going to even go to the gym if I'm only going to be, working out for 20 minutes? Well, if you factor other things in like mobility and, stretching and yoga or whatever it is that you want to improve on specifically in around your general fitness, you'll be there for a good, 45 minutes to an hour if you want to be. But the reality of it is you don't need to if your goal is to just lose body fat.
Right.
So
this is really great stuff, and this is actually really important for our viewers and our listeners to get. And if you've been a fan of mine off the show and you follow us on YouTube, you'll see if you actually can go into a category there, and it's called Sweaty Leadership Tips. And those are leadership tips that I give actually from the gym when I am sweaty. And they show the metaphor of working out to leadership and why those things are really important. And one of the things we talk about I've done actual several videos on adaptation, and if you think about putting the principles, because this is why I wanted Rob on here today, because this is what I want you to grasp. If you think about putting the principles that you put to use in your leadership, and you probably just never thought of it before, and you put them into the context of fitness, you suddenly go, oh shit, I know how to do that. I've done that all the time. The market changes. What do? Do you keep doing the same stuff? You go, no, I have to adapt. Okay. Well, or your business flattens out and it levels and it plateaus, and you go, what do? I mean, I've got this, there's a video in YouTube that I did around this, where I said there's a guy, and I actually got a clip of him a little bit in my background because was kind of mean, but I didn't want to be rude to him. But he's in the background. This guy was in the gym every day. I was there for 3 years. I saw him at the same gym. The guy body never changed, and he was always there, and he was always there for the same time, and he wasn't lazy. It wasn't like he was walking around the gym chatting to girls. He was there. He was working out, but his body never changed. He never paid attention to the fact that he plateaued and he needed to do something different. And I said, and I used the example there, if you're in your business and your business plateaus, you go, oh, this is bad, I got to do something. But in your body, we don't do that. And it's the same thing. Often the time we don't notice that we've plateaued, and it's part of the argument in business. Well, this has worked for me. You're right. It worked. Past tense, IED, worked. It's not working, ing, which is active in the moment. And so what Rob is suggesting here is that you pay attention to that, and that you create this adaptive process in your business, in your leadership, and in your fitness, which is so vital. Now, in the context of this, because again, we're busting open some myths here, and I love that. I love doing that. So let's look at the next myth, which is the biggest category for me, which is all of us grew up with this crazy ass idea, as far as I'm concerned anyway, crazy ass idea of the food pyramid. And here's how you're supposed to eat. And people go, I eat healthy, I follow the food pyramid. And I'm like, oh my God, what is from your point of view, what is one of the most common myths that people believe about eating?
Well, there's so many. Geez.
There are so many. Yeah, you're
I
right.
know there's so many, but here's the thing. If you trust the food company, you've got your head so far up your butt, you don't
You
know
can
which
see
way
your
to
own
go.
tonsils.
Exactly. Right. So I don't think I can curse on your show, right? Because I curse.
Yeah,
like
you
crazy.
can.
Oh, okay. So if you've got your head up your ass, you're fucked. Because the real problem is that food companies are in it to make money. That's just the reality of it. So if it says
Sure.
heart healthy or fat free or recommended by XYZ, it's all bullshit. I mean, honestly, it really is. I mean, the whole point is for you to buy it. That's all they want you to do. So if you believe what they're saying on the package, you are grossly misinformed. Right. So here's the thing. Being healthy and eating healthy is so unbelievably simple. It's just mind blowing to me that people can't get it. And all you have to do is just, and this is the reality. This is how I think of everything in around health and wellness is like, if we just flash back like 1,000 years, right? Or let's even go further back than that, because we still had, if you flash back 10,000 years, when we're more in like the Paleolithic era, right? We're humans, but we don't have agriculture. We're not refined in building and using tools yet. But we are thriving. We're growing.
We still need to eat.
We're eating on a regular basis. Anything that was available there would have been something that you should probably be eating, right? Whether or not it's a free roaming animal that you can kill and eat or hunt and eat, whether it be vegetation that grows out of the ground naturally, right? And yes, now we have farms, so we can eat broccoli and the vegetables from 10,000 years ago would be much different than they are now. But we've, and they've been modified, which is, better still if, compared to the alternatives, which is packaged foods. But if we focus mostly on just eating meat, vegetables, things that were alive, you just keep this in mind. Was it alive at one point? Did it have eyes or breathe in some way? Right? Those are really good guidelines. So nuts, seeds are really good. Fruits and vegetables, obviously, right? And those are basically the guidelines. Now, you can get more specific and you could say, oh, I'm paleo, so I don't eat grains and legumes and, I don't eat that much fruit, right? And you could say, oh, I'm eating keto, but so I'm having mostly fats as my diet, right? We can mess with the macronutrient profiles. We can mess with, the specifics of what exactly you're consuming based on your ideologies or whatever. But the reality of it is if you're eating whole foods that were alive at one point, breathing in some capacity, you are going to be ahead of 95% of people. That's just the reality.
So let's bump right into that, because I guarantee there are people watching, listening to us who are vegan. And,
okay. Yeah, that's
eyes
fine.
and breathing is definitely list.
Well, it doesn't. Breathing could be plant breathing. I don't, only because I know that we weren't vegetarians or vegans when we were developing our brains, right? When we were developing as human beings in the Paleolithic era, when we were really starting to thrive and grow brains and separate ourselves from the animals, we were eating meat. And we were probably eating more organ meats, fatty meats, brain meats, things like that, because that would be the thing that would eat immediately after we kill the animal. And then we might dive into some of the leaner proteins, which is what we normally consume on a regular basis. But the fats is what feeds our brains, right? The fats from those meats, from those animals is what feeds our brains and makes us develop, right? So if you're not eating, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, and you're not eating because you don't like the idea of killing animals, maybe you don't think it's environmentally friendly, that's fine. But that's just because you have an ideological stance on what you think is right for people, for humanity, for the world, right? And that's fine with me. You can have that, but it's not necessarily, in my opinion, the healthiest choice. Now, you might spin that and go, well, I mean, there's plenty of people. Look at Dr. Campbell, who's written the books, and like all these people, the China study and all this stuff. This proves that it's healthy. Look, I can show you science on the other side of it. There's just, we're never going to get anywhere with the scientific data because everybody's got an agenda. So it really is about.
But I want to say something to that, because I think it's important for people. Listen, Ethically, I'm vegan. Ethically.
Mm-hmm.
I hate, if there's an insect in my house, I don't kill it, I take it out. I hate the idea of killing animals. And that's why I went vegetarian in 1982. I was vegetarian for 18 months. I've never been unhealthier and I've never been fatter than I was at that time. Because I'm not fat and I'm not unhealthy, but I was during that time. And the answer was very simple. Not that vegetarian is wrong and not that meat is wrong. And this is, I think, when people fall down all the time. Because psychologically, human beings are always looking for right and wrong. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, as Rob was saying about workouts earlier, is it is completely subjective. Listen, I'm trying to think of the guy from the Green Mile. What's his name? The big guy?
Oh, I know. Yeah, no,
the huge guy. He's a vegetarian, right? He's a vegetarian. And he's built like a brick shit house. He's got muscles on top of his muscles. Yes, that's called genetics. That's the way his body works. And it's fantastic. If I was on his diet, I would be a balloon. It wouldn't work for me. And this is the thing I think we've all got. It's one of the great myths, I think, of eating is that paleo is right, or keto is right, or vegan is right. The truth of the matter is you got to pay attention to what you eat and how your body responds to it. And if you are really healthy on a vegetarian diet, good for you. That's awesome. And we like to throw our ideologies down other people's throats. But the truth of the matter is, look at yourself, pay attention to yourself, and pay attention to how your body responds. Listen, I love a good old bowl of pasta, but when I eat it, I'm about to have a baby. I look like I'm pregnant. My belly swells out. I don't do well with that amount of carbs, and I certainly don't do well with gluten. But that's me. My buddy, who is Italian and who comes from a long line of Italians, has no problem with it because that's part of his genetic background. And that's great. I know other Italians who can't eat any of that stuff. So what I'm just saying is it's the same as in your business. We're always ready to look at and compare ourselves to other leaders, to other businesses, to other fit people. And we go, wow, look, this person is super fit and therefore I should do that. Yeah, you should. You probably should do it, but only for the purpose of seeing if it works for you. Because listen, the cabbage water diet is going to work for everybody because of exactly what Rob talked to you about before, which is adaptation. The body will adapt and you'll get a result initially. But when that adaptation is leveled out, then you're going to find out what actually works for you. And that's the key to learning about your own body, about your own health, about your own fitness, and about your leadership and your business. You've got to be willing to pay attention to the data that's coming back in the context of you, whether it's health or whether it's bottom line. Rob, as we sort of we're deep into the show already, and I want to go back to this now because have you always been a fit guy, or were you doing things that were detrimental to your health and to your fitness, and you suddenly realized, oh my God, I've got to change? What were you doing that was keeping, if it happened for you, what were you doing that was keeping you unhealthy?
Well, I was always an athletic guy. I loved doing things. Now, I do really well with outside accountability, right? I do really well with somebody inviting me to go work out or me setting up dates for working out with other people in advance. I do well with that. So in my 20s, I'm going to exclude teenage years because I think, I grew up as an athlete. As a young kid athlete, it doesn't matter what you eat. For some people, I was lucky enough that I never gained weight. I never had a problem.
Right.
In my 20s, I was less consistent with my working out, but I would work out here and there. But I was still in my 20s, so I didn't gain crazy amounts of weight until my late 20s, early 30s, when I got married, and I started to put on a couple extra pounds, and I started noticing it. I was 10 pounds heavier, 20 pounds heavier than I had been. I was in my early 20s. I was probably in the 160s range in my early 20s, and then I bounced up to like the 190 range in my late 20s, early 30s. And I didn't notice this really until my wife took a picture of me when I was standing at a waterfall on our honeymoon. And she takes this picture. I was totally caught off guard. I'm kind of looking off to the side, and she's like, Rob, and I go, turn around, and I go, what? And she snaps this picture, and I'm like, and then I see it, and my gut's hanging out, and I was totally, I didn't have time to suck it in. And I was like, is that what I look like? And it was a real eye opener for me. So I started working out, more consistently. And I wasn't losing any weight because I wasn't really, first of all, I wasn't changing what I was doing in my workouts. I was doing the same thing that I had always done from the time I learned how to work out when I was like 15 years old. I was doing the same exact workout program. But then I started realizing I need to start really paying attention to my nutrition here, because this is the secret. This is the thing that everybody talks about. It's so overwhelming to try to figure it out. So I did like the cabbage cleanse, right? I did the cayenne pepper cleanse. I did vegetarian for, X amount of time, pescatarian for X amount of time, different detoxes, constantly trying different things to see if I can kickstart my weight loss. And yes, all of them worked in some capacity, but I wasn't creating a lifestyle. Right. What I was doing was just looking for a shortcut. And I think that's the same thing for a lot of people in business. We're always looking for the shortcut. Somebody just give me the solution to make my business run like a top. And then I can
maximum benefit for minimum effort. That's what we all want.
Just give me the secret, right? That's what everybody wants. They want the roadmap to get there. I love these online salespeople that are selling you shovels and treasure maps. They've never gone off and dug up the treasure themselves. They're just selling you shovels and treasure maps and how to make money. So this is basically, I think that's what a cleanse is. I think that's what these detoxes are. They're basically these short win things that people can, they can talk about, they can show results, but then in reality, what they're not getting is long lasting results from this, right? They're not building a sustainable business, right? That's what you ultimately want to do. And that takes time. Because what you're doing is you're learning about yourself. It's exactly what you're talking about. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I was kind of missing that piece of the equation about vegetarian and vegan, because it's like you can thrive being a vegetarian or a vegan. But the reality of it is like, if you're, for some people that's great, and for some people it's not. But don't get all wrapped up in the fact that somebody's right and somebody's wrong. Who cares? Just worry about yourself. If you're a vegetarian or a vegan, I get it. Sometimes people want to change the world and they don't want anybody else to do that thing. And that's fine. You could be a part of that. But I mean, for the average person, let's just focus on being healthy. Right. Yes. And so that was in my own journey. It took me years. I mean, I started this when I was, I think 30 or 31, and I'm 41 now. And so, and I'm constantly learning about what works best for me. Right. And how I'm going to maneuver through being a new dad, how I'm going to maneuver through being a great husband, through having a busy schedule. All of this stuff is like little variables that come at me that I have to adjust for. And the average person might say, I'm busy, I've got all this stuff on my plate, yada, yada, yada. The reality of it is we create our own lives. You create that prison, right? I talked about that. Was one of the things that early on I hired a business coach very early on. And I just I said, I feel like I'm such a creative person, but I feel like I create and then I build and then I create. And then next thing I know, I have a prison that I have to consistently monitor and manage. It's like all of a sudden I have all of these ball and chains locking me down to this thing that I've created that I haven't necessarily automated yet. Right. So this is the thing that I kind of learned about myself. So instead, what I do now is I'm trying to pull back and you do just the things that are effective, right? You have just those habits. So when my wife and I go food shopping, generally it's right to the meat section. It's right to the vegetable section. Sure. Sometimes we buy some processed foods, or we buy some maybe gluten-free bread or something like that. But the reality of it is it's not necessarily part of our regular menu. It's just, we've learned how to balance it out for ourselves where we are highly functional at that. We don't gain body fat from having that specific lifestyle, but that's something it took us years to figure out.
Exactly.
Right. And so so over time, the nutrition has had the biggest impact on me. That's hands down the biggest thing for most people. And that's the hardest thing for most people because we're so emotionally connected to eating. It is a really difficult thing to change. One of the things I joked about, and you sent me a text message yesterday, was like the generational eating topic. It's like, Rob, this is a leadership show. Like, nobody cares about generational eating. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I mean, it's a leadership topic, but we're so connected to the way we grew up. You talked about your Italian buddy who grew up with gluten, grew up eating pasta and bread and all that stuff. Well, I grew up with that. Sure. I grew up in an Italian family where every Sunday.
Really, with your name, Dionne? I would never have guessed.
Well, actually,
I thought you were from Japan.
But Dionne is actually a French Canadian word. It's a name. But my mom's side is all Yugoslavian and Italian, very big in the cooking world. And we always had pasta. We always had bread at every.
They don't mind some carbs.
They don't mind the carbs. However, I had digestive issues my entire childhood. My entire childhood, I was gassy. I was bloated. I was uncomfortable. I remember specifically like going to the bathroom and sitting in there. And this is going to be graphic. I took all of my clothes off as a kid. I was sweating. I'm not even kidding you, Dov. Like, I would be sweating. I would go in the bathroom and I'd sit on the toilet and I'd be like, as a 10-year-old. And I never talked to my mom about it. I never talked to my family about it. Like, I just thought that that's what you did. That was just.
And just stop for a minute, because I think that's a powerful point there. We don't talk about these things. And it's a powerful point, because I wonder how many 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds are going into the bathroom with their belly hurting, swollen, like, they just ate lunch and they keep telling themselves it must be off or something, as opposed to going, maybe it's my system and I don't work that way. And we don't talk to anybody else. And especially if we're leaders, because we got to know all our shit. We got to have all the answers. And so we don't ask and we don't find out the help, and we struggle through and we get a bigger pair of pants, and we try to make sure that we're not caught off guard in a photograph that shows us with a belly. It's that 10-year-old to me that you just described is such a representation of so many of us as adults. We don't talk about the fact that my belly hurts. We don't talk about the fact that I am so freaking uncomfortable every time I eat something that everybody else seems to love and enjoy. And, am I a freak? Because it also becomes a way to judge yourself.
Yeah, we think that there's something wrong with us. We think that everybody else is able to do this. Why I should be able to? And maybe I don't think it's necessary. I think it comes down to, we think we categorize ourselves. This is who I am.
Exactly.
I'm the person who has to sit on the aisle because I have to go to the bathroom about 3 times through a movie because I'm so uncomfortable. It's just, I've always been gassy. I've always had diarrhea. It's just who I am. Instead of going, oh, maybe there's something wrong here. Yeah, exactly. Like one of my really good friends, one of the guys that I train with on a weekly basis, he has terrible irritable bowel syndrome. When I first met him, I knew that he would have to sit on the aisle at every movie, every sporting event, every concert. It had to on a plane, because he would have to get up and go to the bathroom at least 3 or 4 times. Have you ever walked into a men's bathroom when something gets out, like a sporting event? It's it's like an intermission or whatever it is, and then like there are always like 2 or 3 people that go to the bathroom and explode. I mean, you hear them explode in there, like, and you're like, oh my God, that must be so uncomfortable. I guarantee you that person has that almost every day.
Yeah, it's not the sporting event. That's actually normal for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is another psychological piece that I've spoken about many times on this show, is normal isn't healthy. Normal's what you got used to. And the problem with that is you've gotten used to something, and because you've gotten used to it, you've minimized it. That's part of our psychology. We minimize it. We don't make any big deal out of it. And the truth is that, I challenge every leader that I work with is take a look at what you've normalized. Take a look at what you've made normal in your marriage, in your business partnership, in your employee situation, in your profit and loss, in your health, in your fitness, in your level of stress. What have you normalized? And in the nutrition and fitness world and all those things, it's a very important piece for you to look at. We're getting very close to the end of the show. And one of the things I want to ask you, because I think it's an important question for everybody that I work with on these shows, everyone who's a leader, and that is that I think that people look at us as leaders in whatever our capacity is, whether it's a fitness leader and fitness trainer like yourself, or whether it's a CEO or a thought leader or whatever the category might be. And people tend to look at us and go, oh, you're already there. Right? You've already made it. You're already there. And one of the things I like to ask all of my guests is that as a leader, particularly as a conscious leader, my belief is that conscious leaders are always committed to their growth. And as successful as you are, what is the one thing that you're still working on about yourself?
I have to constantly remind myself that the process is the result. I'm a perfectionist at heart. I think there's the separation between a perfectionist and a high achiever. I definitely fall into the category of a perfectionist.
Right.
I believe that I should know it before I've even tried it. I should be perfect at it on my first attempt. And if I don't understand it or I'm not able to do it, I get pissed at myself. I judge myself, and I get really negative about the fact that I haven't achieved that yet, or I'm not able to do that the first time. And so keeping that running, there's multiple, I'm looking off to the side here because I have quotes on my wall that say the process is the result. You either win or you learn. There is no lose. These are things that I have to consistently remind myself of because I am so wrapped up in my own insecurities. And really it comes down to insecurity. It really does, for believing that I'm not good enough. And
right.
if I can just be great at everything, then the life that I believe that I'm having will be reality. Right. And that's just not how things work. So,
great insight.
You want to hear something really funny? When I was I think I was probably like 14 or 15 years old, I was listening to an Aerosmith song, and I can't remember the name of the song, but there's a line in there that says, "Life's a journey, not a destination." And I remember I hit pause, I rewound it, and I played it again. And I took out the remote control of my little, it was using one of these like mini CD players, and I carved it with a knife in the back of the remote. Life's a journey, not a destination. I knew at 14 years old that was my problem.
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy?
Awesome. But you see, this is the thing. And again, this is great guidance for leaders because in the work that I do with leaders, as you know, I work with these high-level individuals and helping them to come to the very best. And one of the things I will say to them all the time is, it's not a new problem. I don't know what it is, but it's not a new problem. It's probably been with you as long as you can remember, but you've mastered it, you've covered it, you've overcompensated in some way. But it's the same, and I love that you revealed that. Yeah. We were talking, as we're getting towards the end here, one of the things I want to talk to you about briefly here is, we talked about leaders and all the agendas and all the things you got to do and then trying to fit fitness in. But you are an entrepreneur, you're a business person, you have a fitness practice, you have your own clients that you work with, you have online programs, you're doing all those things. You have to take care of your own health. You have your podcast, you have your guests, you got all those things. And then on top of that, you're a new dad. So talk to us about how that has impacted how priorities shift for you, because I know, you and I have talked about it, how much joy you're getting from being a new dad, but new dad means less sleep, more demands, and somebody could say, and I've used this analogy many times, starting a new business is like having a new baby. It's a new business. It's got more demands. You get less sleep. So talk to us about how you're managing to juggle that and still do all the things you need to do.
Well, that's a great question. And here's the thing. I think that everybody anybody that's super busy and that feels like their head's kind of spinning out of control should have a kid. I really do. Like, just go off right now, have a kid.
Yeah, sure. Just pop one. I'll pop one out for 4 minutes. Give me a minute.
So one of the things you and I have talked about in length in the past is the fact that we both have gone through extensive therapy.
Sure.
We're very open about that. It's something that I think is really important for a lot of people, is to is to obviously take a look inside, right? Pop the hood, look underneath, see what's really happening, right? And not just tinker around, but spend time in there. Take apart the engine and really just look what's happening inside, right? So I've been going through therapy for years, and I have been struggling so much with feeling like I have too much on my plate all the time. I take on way too much. And, you know, this online program that I'm doing, the podcast that I have going on, my one-on-one clients that I have real estate investments. I have 2 Airbnbs, 4 apartments that I rent, and I'm managing all of that. And I've also managing a relationship with my wife and, you know, and my relationships with all my friends, just trying to create all the time and keep all the balls in the air at the same exact time. And I was looking for something to help give me clarity as to what is the most important thing, right? Because that's one of the things that I think as entrepreneurs, we all want to know. That's why we hire coaches, because we need somebody to point us in a direction and just say, go that way, and don't look at anything else. Put the blinders on, just go that way. Forget about all this stuff. That is so difficult as an entrepreneur to do, because we're so creative. Our minds just work in a different way than the average 9-to-5er. So for me, I was so looking forward to this baby, because I needed like the hardest, firmest smack in the face back to reality of like what is important. And man, did it work.
You think this shit's important? It's now 3:00 in the morning and I am going to scream and you are going to give me your attention.
Right. Exactly. And, you know, it's so amazing to me because, you know, I was able to now what I'm doing now, right now, I mean, literally in these moments in the last 8, well, we're going on 11 weeks coming this Sunday. I've been shedding away the layers, man. I'm getting rid of so much stuff. I'm just not important, not making money at it. Not important. You know, is this really important to my relationship, or, you know, is this going to move my family forward? Not important. And it's amazing because, it's allowed me to really dial back, and all of a sudden I feel like I can breathe. You know, we take on all of this responsibility as entrepreneurs, as these people pleasers, right? We want to take care of everybody around us, and we want to be known as the person who takes care of everybody. It's really important to us. It's ridiculous. It's like, it's so important that everybody knows that I'm the one who's got it together. Come to me if you need help, and I will help you, because I can control and I can manage all of this, right? There's a lot of people out there that can't. I'm the guy who can. Yep. And it's like, but then the question is like, do I want that for my life? Do I need to be that guy? Right. I know that I've created that in my life where I've become that guy, but do I really need that? Is there a return on that investment of all my time and energy? Is there really a return besides me feeling like I fit into the category now? I fit into the category of the guy who does everything for everybody and who could accomplish just about anything when all the pressure's on. The answer is no. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. None of that matters. All that matters is that I focus on obviously raising a human being that is worthwhile in this world, right? That is like number one priority. Keeping my relationship with my wife strong and nurtured and positive moving forward. You know, obviously there's the homeostasis within the home that I want to manage. And then I look outside and I go, okay, in business, what do I really want to achieve? How do I want to impact people? Not how do I want people to see me? How do I want to impact people?
Absolutely.
And now, oh man, it's so much clearer to me. It's so much clearer to me how I can help people and really help them. It's this conversation, Dov. Like this conversation, if people are hearing this and they're like, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this. This is really good information. But it's the shedding away of you can't add to your life to solve your problems. You have to remove all of the things that are creating the problems. Get rid of them. You know, the solution is not to do more. The solution is to do less.
Right.
People need to hear that.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, I was going to ask you what's your one piece of practical guidance at the end, but I just think that is it.
Yeah.
You know, I've said for years that the work that I do, I'll teach you all kinds of strategies and techniques and all the rest of it. But at the end of it, of our working together, whatever that period of time is, you should have less, not more.
Yeah.
You should, because what you do have is what's important. And I think you nailed it. And everybody's looking for the next thing that they can add that's going to make it better. And in truth, you got to look at, as you said, what do I need to get the hell rid of?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great piece of practical advice for us to end on. Rob, thank you so much. This has been awesome. I really enjoyed our conversation. Please tell our viewers and our listeners where they can find out more about you, about your company, about your resources, how they can just generally find out more about what it is that you do.
Well, first off, Dov, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this. And I always love having conversations with you because you're such an insightful person. And you at your core are a person who wants to give and wants to share. So I appreciate that. So thank you, for having me. And if people are interested in finding out more about me, my website is openskyfitness.com. At Open Sky Fitness is basically every single handle across the board for all my social media. And then if they want to be a part of this conversation, this kind of conversation, they can find me on the Open Sky Fitness podcast community on Facebook. We do have our own podcast, as you mentioned earlier in the show. That is a place where our listeners go to hang out and continue the conversation that we have. Obviously, we don't necessarily talk all about business, but we do talk about health and streamlining and mindset and everything. And those are really important topics to cover. But obviously, from the way in which we have our conversation, you can tell that it really is about, for me, about helping people and creating communities. And that's a really important thing because we all need the accountability and the support in our lives when we're trying to really change course.
Absolutely.
So that's where everybody can find me.
Fabulous. And thank you, Rob. Again, you can go find out more about Rob at openskyfitness.com. His podcast is Open Sky Fitness. You can find that too. And as he said, there is a community on Facebook too. And of course, we will post all of that in the show notes so you'll be able to track him down and search him out and maybe learn a lot more about how you can be a lot more cognitive about your health. I want to thank Rob again, and we'll just stay with us to the end, Rob. I want to remind you that you can go chat about this show or any of our past episodes by going to Facebook and chatting there on the Dov Baron Leadership and Loyalty podcast page on Facebook. Remember, the research consistently shows that one of the biggest challenges facing even the most successful companies can be somewhat counterintuitive in that these fast-growing companies often hit a point where they realize they're spending a fortune attracting, training, and developing talent, only to have them leave at an alarming rate. If you're sick of training and developing your talent, only have them leave before you get your ROI, then come talk to us at fullmontyleadership.com, where we provide you with the essential leadership skills to rekindle and amplify the hidden loyalty assets inside of your organization by tapping into purpose. fullmontyleadership.com, providing you with the concrete soft skills to get you and your organization to the top and keep you there. Why? Because you can't outsource authenticity. Also, remember to stop by the Matrix, matrix.fullmontyleadership.com. Matrix like the movie, you don't need a triple W. Matrix.fullmontyleadership.com and get your authentic leadership matrix self-assessment tool. Find out about your leadership strengths. It's valued at $197. It's absolutely free to you for tuning in. And remember, you can get us on Google Play on Alexa. So just say play Dov Baron podcast. If you've gotten a lot out of this show, if you or any of the shows, and I love hearing from you. So get over to iTunes, rate, review, subscribe to the show. Love it when you do that. Love it when you share that. But if you've got something out of this and you want to let me know what you got out of it, or I can be of service to you in some way, you can personally write to me. Yes, I love hearing from you. My email is dov, D-O-V, at dovbaron.com, dov@dovbaron.com. Let's talk. Let's see about how I can serve you, how I can serve your organization. You're tapping into your purpose and really bringing up your game so that you can find your deep greatness. I want to thank you for sharing the show with everybody you know. Until next time, stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about how you can look at your own health and fitness subjectively, about what it is that works for you. And as the final note of what Rob said, about what it is that you need to let go of in order to be fit and healthy, rather than what it is you need to add. I'm Dov Baron. I'm here to assist you tapping into your deep greatness to reach that next level of clarity, focus, purpose and profit in your business, your life, and your leadership impact. And I am out.